Hi, and welcome to my additional videos to help you in your calligraphy journey. This video belongs to my series called Copperplate, Writing Copperplate in Real Time. And there is a lot more writing and a lot less talking than in other series. So the focus on this series is writing longer texts, seeing the movement of my hand in real time, see the thoughts that I have while writing them, and applying in some of them a few variations if necessary. So in here, I'm using Walnut ink, oblique pen holder, and 101 hand, 101 pointed flexible nib called hand 101. I'm currently using an horizontal guideline, which is 6 millimeters. You can see that here. If you need blank guidelines, you can go to my Instagram account, follow the link on my bio, which will take you to my email newsletters. And once you sign for them, you will get an automatic email with a link to download them. If you don't see the link or if you don't see the email, please check your spam or junk folder. Okay, so the sentence for today, it's going to be, for a world where we all are socially equal, humanly different, and totally free. So differences between this sentence and another ones I have written is that I have decided to change the ratio. If you're not too sure what ratio is, I very much recommend you to go to my Copperplate Variations series and look for a video with this name, because I explain in there what the classic ratio is and the variations. So on this video, I'm going to be using a ratio that it is going to be 2, 2, and 2. So basically the X height is as big as the ascenders and descenders. And obviously this is going to modify the look and feel. We are going to have much bigger letter forms, and the movements will be a little bit, one more unit longer. So I'm going to start for the first word, which is for, F-O-R. I'm going to use a capital F as well. And I'm going to go a little bit closer so you can see a little bit more detail. Okay, let me move. All right. I always mention to use blank recycled paper underneath your hand because it might protect you from the writing. So I don't have anything around me right now, but I always use it. So I'll start with what I got at the moment. Okay, it's the first trial. So when you do things for the first time, you might need to figure out combinations of letters that might not be so easy. So the first time is just a study of the combinations of letters that we have and how do we respond to these combinations of letters in real time as we are writing them for the first time. So first of all is capital F. I'm gonna go with maybe 4 units capital letters. So it's gonna be a little bit bigger than the regular ratio. You can start from either side. I'm going to start from the right-hand side. I'm not looking for perfection anymore. I'm looking for something that looks really personal. And this comes with hours of practice. So as you know, first we need to learn the foundations, and then slowly the style will come. So F-O-R. So you see now the difference between the space that the X height occupies in comparison to capital letter. Now in here, when I did the top of the F, they are almost touching. So what I would do is either leave a space between the top of the F and the stem, or if they are nearly touching like now, I'm just going to cross completely, so that I'm going to avoid to have just a space where they are just touching each other. Okay, letter A next. Once I have the first letter form, this is going to give me an indication of the width of the other letters as well as the space between the letters for a word. If there is a tiny space or gap between the entry movement of the oval and the stem, I close manually the gap. Okay, next word is where, another W. Stopping here to get more ink, and then loop. I know that every time I do a letter form, it's never going to be exactly the same. Otherwise, I would be using a really beautiful font. So in here, I have to allow room for small variations within the same constant hand. So I try to keep it consistent, but I know there is always going to be room for variations. So next one is we. So we have another W. I have the option of using the same W every time or trying variations of it. In this case, I'm going to keep going with the same. You can see the ligatures now between the connections between different combinations of letters. So what happens between the W and the E. Run out of ink in the middle of the word, which is not really ideal, but I try to save it. Okay. Now, I know my sentence is not going to fit in one line, so I have the option of choosing where do I start the second line. I'm going to keep going a little bit more where we ball. Now, I'm going to fit the last one, R. Okay, new line. Now, the interesting thing of what I just did in here, and I'm analyzing this as I'm going, is that if you notice, there is absolutely no descenders. So the whole entire composition so far, I only have X height and ascenders. So in here, I have counted for 2 units for the ascenders, 2 units for the X height, 2 units for the descenders, and the same again, so that they don't intercept. But in here now, based on this design, I can modify the space between letters, the space between words, sorry for the third time, the space between lines, because I don't have any descender whatsoever in the whole first sentence. So this is something I need to be adjusting as I'm going. This is the first time. So now I just pay attention to that and think, well, depending on what happens next, then I can adjust line spacing for my title if that was going to be the application. So, okay, next word is socially. So I'll keep the notes I had for the X height. I feel I'm gonna run out of ink. So I have to stop in the middle of letter Y and get more ink in here because I can see how the ink is going lighter and lighter. And now for the first time, I have a descender. So let's go, let's go. The next word is equally. Okay. Equal, not equally, so almost spelling mistake. Socially equal, comma. Humanly different. So let's move the paper. I'm running out of ink a lot because my letters are much bigger. Now, I don't have a lot of space on my page left. So I feel like if I'm going to write different, there is a lot of chances that it's not going to fit or it's going to fit too tight. So I'm not going to risk it at this point, and I'm going to go into another line. So I'm going to count again 2 units for the descenders, 2 units for the ascenders. And here it's going to be my next X height. Okay, so I'm gonna place it in here. It's gonna be the word different. So now with the F, I have two Fs next to each other. So I'm going to purposely use a variation. So the first F, for example, can be longer and the second F will be slightly shorter. Now I have a space in here. So ideally, I'm going to use the space I have to create this same type of loop that I just did in here. But the ink, it's wet. So I don't want to drag in with me. And there is a lot of ink because of the characteristics of the nib that I use, carries a lot of ink. So I'm going to be very gentle and try not to carry, drag any ink with me. And then I realized I completely lost the good reference for the eye of the E. So this is a very good practice. Okay, so what happened is the eye of the E comes from the center of the X height. So I go up and create it this way. So now you see the difference between the two of them. So I'm gonna keep going anyway. Okay. And now I know that I'm gonna leave the ink to be dried completely. And once it's completely dry, I can scrub the space that I don't want to. So in here, I will leave it like this for the moment. And then at the very end, I can scrub this tiny, tiny loop that I just created in here. Okay, last three words, and totally free. Again, I run out of ink in the middle of the word. So if I'm very gentle, I can go back and just feel the ink. I have the railway already marked, so I just need to very carefully add. Now, if you notice what happens as well, at the very tip of my nib, I cut some paper and you can see it. It's tiny, but it is very visible. It's just sitting on the top of my nib. So this is very common as well when writing calligraphy, especially Copperplate calligraphy. So I'm just going to use any recycling paper I have around me. And just by doing this movement, I'm just downloading now the ink and also downloading the fibers of paper I have. And then let's go back. So totally, so Oh, I still see the paper. Can you see stuck? So let me get rid of it. I think now it's clean. The tip is completely clean. Okay. All right, double L. And the last one, 3. Okay, so from here, I have to go all the way. And I can choose which R do I want. Okay, now if we go outside and see the composition as it is for the first time, as I mentioned, I haven't done this before, this sentence like that, so I am figuring a lot of things out with the first time. A lot of the times when I do this, I make spelling mistakes. It's very, very common for me to do that, so I need to be very focused. So things that I want to think and evaluate for myself, if I want to do it again and I want to polish or refine things, it's like, I would like to redo this F, and I would like not to have this intersection at the top. I would like to apply a lot less pressure on this side of the oval. Now, the flow works really nice, and I have 3 Ws following each other. So the question is, do I want to use the same type of W, or do I want to create variations between them so it's a little bit more dynamic? There is a lot of ascenders, a lot of loops, especially 2 double Ls 3 times, socially, totally, and all. So the next question is, do I want to bring variation in here as well? If not, I just need to be mindful that the loops are going to be very consistent across everything else. There is no descenders on the first line, as I mentioned. So the question is, do I want to break the line here, or do I want to break the line here after all? So then I bring this word to the next line, and then it might have a different contour in here. So you might have this shape like that. So that's another option. I'm quite happy with the look and feel of the letter forms. It's very narrow and is quite consistent with the spacing, so it works well. I know with some letters, they resist to follow the slant, so I just need to be mindful of that. What else? Of course, this will be fixed, and I will be very careful in here on for looking for the center of the X height to actually create a good I for the E. So this is normal. This is part of the process of writing whatever it is for the first time. If you want to do that only once with the ink, what I would suggest is using the same size, using a pencil, do exactly the same movements I just did, and then analyze and evaluate the quote and see the length of it. Of course, I'm not adding here the person who wrote it, but if you have to add it, then of course there is extra questions to be answered, such as, is the author of the quote going to be the same size and the same importance as the quote itself? If not, what's the size and where are you going to place it? It's going to be at the end, it's going to be down below to the right or to the left, and things like that. So this is the type of design decisions and evaluations I go through for the first time when writing anything. And then from there, I keep on going and take decisions and do it again, polish what I want to polish, and so forth. I hope this is very helpful. I'm open to write other quotes. So if you have something in mind that you would like to write and you want to let me know, you can pop it on the comments on this video and I will have a look at them, and I might or I might not get it done and create a video for that. So I hope these real-time writings are helpful for you to see the speed and my thoughts while doing them. Thank you very much.